Alright, welcome back everybody. Got a follow-up video for the Cadet 1517. The main drive pulley has been replaced. Get you up under here. So in order to get this particular pulley off, you actually have to lift up on the chassis, which means you got the spring bolts for the seat, and then you got to take the brackets off. I actually ended up having to take and remove the whole seat off the brackets and then take the brackets off to get to the chassis. And then you got two other nuts that go here on this side and one on the other side. And then you got a bolt right here that you got to undo just to get that pulley off. But as you can see, the new pulley's on there now, and the belt's been put back on, and the tensioner's put back on. So we got all that put back together. And then we got to take and put the chassis and rebolt the chassis and everything back up onto it. But this just to give you an idea of how much of a pain in the butt it is sometimes to work on these mowers, and just to get one simple thing fixed on it. Now another follow-up to let you guys know, the deck has been fully gone through. It's been repaired and patched up where the holes were, so we're getting ready to slide that back up under there now too. As you guys saw in the other video I posted about the repairs done to it. And once we get everything buttoned back up, we'll do another video, a final video of it up and running and moving around. Alrighty buddy, how's everybody going? So wanted to give a quick update on something. We got this Cadet mower put back together, started up running and everything like that. Still wasn't quite right, that it squealed a little bit when you're going up hills and stuff, but otherwise it moves along pretty good. And I've come to find out the determination is actually a stretched drive belt, but this particular customer is just trying to get one more year out of it, and he doesn't want to put a whole lot of money into it, so he's just gonna let it stretch out, at least get one more year out of it. In the process of testing it, this is something I want to point out to give you guys some insight. While we were testing it, it all of a sudden started revving really high, and I was playing with the governor, playing with the throttle linkage. The throttle linkage was actually loose. It's that bottom one right here, the light shining on. Still wouldn't adjust properly. It still kept revving high, and you know, excuse me. We played around with the governor a little bit, made some adjustments. It still was revving high, and so I took and did another troubleshoot check. And if you look in there, if you notice, if I take and turn the choke on, all right, so you see that butterfly valve? There's actually a second butterfly valve that actually sits right back there in the throat of the carburetor. And I'm gonna move the throttle real quick. So if you look, I don't know how you can see it, but you see that brass looking pin in the back with two holes in it? There's supposed to be another butterfly valve there. What happened is the butterfly valve, which is right there, the screws fell out of it. And the screws got sucked up into the engine. And the butterfly valve almost got sucked up into the engine coming out the carburetor. And a lot of times, it's actually quite common with these older mowers, and this particular customer has had this mower for about 10-15 years. It's got a lot of wear and tear on it. And what'll happen is the screws will back out and get sucked into the engine, and then you'll end up losing the butterfly valve. The butterfly valve for the throttle is actually another component that controls the high volume RPMs and the low volume RPMs. And what it does is when you open the throttle all the way up, it opens up the butterfly valve, which allows it to stand vertical like the carburetor one here. When you idle it down, the butterfly valve is actually going to close just like if I do the choke one here. It'll close to right about there. It still allows airflow in, but it restricts the airflow so the engine can't run very fast. And it works coinciding with the governor on the internal of the engine, which is a governor gear. So I just wanted to point that out, that this is another thing that can end up happening with a lot of these older mowers. Another update on that Cadet mower, the one that had the butterfly valve that got sucked into the head of the engine. We got to take the whole front of the head off to get the two screws out from the cylinder so it doesn't damage the cylinder walls. But I just wanted to show something else. When mowers get a lot of use like this, you get this packing of grass in there that actually can start a fire. So you might want to make sure you clean those out every season to make sure that you get it all cleaned up, so because a lot of times it gets so dry it can very easily catch fire. And another issue is, because this is air cooled, you got to make sure you keep your vents clean so that way your engine can stay cool and not overheat, because that would not be good. I mean, these are aluminum block engines. It doesn't take nothing to warp them. So I just wanted to point that out as we're going through taking this off. We got to pull the valve cover off. We got to disconnect the exhaust. We got to pop out the valves, and then we got to pull the whole front end of the head off to get in there and remove the 2 tiny screws that came off the butterfly valve.
And if it overheats, the valve seats can pop out of the head.
And if you heard that, yes, if it does overheat, you lose the valve seats because there ain't nothing but little rubber seals. So, alrighty guys, we'll have another video here in a minute. Hey, how's it going, everybody? So here's that update on that Cub Cadet. We got the head popped off and took a look inside. And I wanted to show you. Now, remember how the screws can they'll pop off with the butterfly valve? But if you look right there, that right there,
One stuck here.
it's only one, but
That's the other one that chewed up.
that is the screw from the butterfly valve right there. And you can kind of see how it did a little bit of damage on the head, not too bad. And then if you look on the piston, you'll see a little speck right there, right back here. All right, that's where it was smacking into the piston. So it dinged it up a little bit, but it didn't do anything too serious to it. But it could have scoured up the cylinder walls and stuff. But also, if you look, this engine's got a lot of corrosion buildup, and this comes from running and running and running and running. And it's unavoidable. It's going to happen. So while we got it off, we're going to go ahead and clean the car buildup off of it and clean the piston up a little bit, and then we're just going to put everything back together and let it roll.